Hey everyone, welcome back to another FSD Beta video. It's been a while since I've done anything. We are running 10.69.2 and it feels good to be back. I unfortunately wasn't part of the 10.69, 69.1 or .1.1 builds, but I got 10.69.2 earlier this week, and if any of you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen that I posted some stuff that the beta wasn't working super well for me when I originally got it, but since then they must have made a shadow update, a config or param update, and it is running absolutely beautifully. Best build by far, and Tesla's really doing it. They're building like we have almost autonomous vehicles on the road. It's really incredible what they're doing. I've had fewer takeovers in the last few days than I've had in quite some time. Driving smoothness is incredible. It's been picking destinations well. It's been, you know, not missing any turns. It's as I get it's been a while, so I'm gonna get back into the flow of things here. But I'll just keep my hand on the wheel now. Man, it is driving so well, and I'm really excited to show you guys how it's doing. Getting a little bit of false slowdowns still for pedestrians, but much better than it was a few days ago. I didn't do any recording then, so you're not going to be able to kind of see that difference, but that's okay, because we are at a point now where the disengagements are becoming much less frequent. Still have some interventions every once in a while. I'll be hitting the accelerator to move through situations where the car's a little bit more unsure of what's happening, but really for the most part it's killing it. It's hitting it out of the park, and we've got a decently long drive today. I'm going to be doing just driving around kind of the Berkeley Hills area, doing some areas that we've done before, some new stuff. Kind of going to go into downtown Berkeley as well, see some more pedestrians and bikers and stuff. So we'll get some interesting scenarios, and I'll be, talking through kind of the stuff that's already, in previous versions, the things I've shown off. We'll see something right here. They still haven't fixed at this, not right here, but at this upcoming intersection. It still thinks there's a stop sign here. It's been doing this since 10. See, we're totally slowing down for no one's behind me. I'm gonna push the accelerator through, but I don't know. I've reported that every single time I've gone through, and it hasn't been fixed. I don't know if it's a navigation issue, if the car just thinks because it's such a big, wide, weird intersection that it needs to stop there. I'm not totally sure. But one thing that's probably the biggest annoyance out of this build so far, and it's really, in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal, is the errant turn signal. So if you watch other YouTubers who make FSD Beta videos, you'll notice on curves, it'll turn the turn signal on left or right depending on which way you're going, when it's really not necessary, and a human wouldn't do that. So I don't know if that's something that's like easily fixed by like it's doing it right now, by param updates, if that's a config setting, or if that's something kind of built into the code and the actual build. I'm not exactly sure, but it has been a little bit annoying, but in the grand scheme of things, like I said, really not a big deal. Car drives super well. I mean, it's super human-like. So we're coming up to one of the biggest challenges, and FSD Beta has only been successful a couple of times in the dozens of times I've driven it. We have a really large, wide roundabout here that isn't marked super well, so I'm pushing us through because there's no need to stop. It's just a yield. There's no stop sign. It's handling it well so far. We are stopping in the middle of the roundabout, which we shouldn't be doing. But after an accelerator tap, I didn't need to take over. It found its way, figured out what it needed to do, and we're off. So really, not so bad. I don't mind at all pressing the accelerator and having the, giving the car a little bit of confidence in the particular situation. I'd much rather be doing that than frequently disengaging, which which you know, has been the case in pretty much every build prior to this. But the car is handling pretty much all situations much better. It's really quite the impressive feat that Tesla has gotten here. It's incredible. All right, so previously on other builds, when taking a right here, it's changed the speed limit to 15, and for pretty good reason. There's it's a really narrow road with cars parked on both sides, not a lot of room for traffic in either direction, so we'll see if it bumps it down to 15 here. No, it looks like it's going to keep us at 25. I'm going to leave it, for better or worse, at, wow, okay, that was a little too fast there. Yeah, you know, it's interesting that I think it would have been fine, but it was a little too close for comfort on my end. It seemed like we were kind of going to the car, but I think we would have been able to squeeze through there just fine. But yeah, it's interesting the times that it picks to go the speed limit or to have some discretion and go a little bit slower. But again, I probably didn't have to disengage. I think the car would have handled that just fine. If anything, I probably put myself in a riskier situation by taking over and not exactly like knowing how the situation was going to play out. There is a speed bump here that the car missed. It's very subtle, very subtle, but it's, you know, you don't want to be going too fast over speed bumps. Here's another speed bump that the car did slow down a little bit for. You could argue that it slowed down because of the turn. It's kind of hard to say. But luckily they're not very aggressive speed bumps, so I don't have to worry too much about the car going over them at 25. So people get really very impatient in downtown Berkeley. They want to go fast. They want to go around cars that are taking lefts at unprotected traffic signals. And I've been honked at more than once driving through here on the Beta because the car doesn't want to do what the humans would do, which is technically illegal, and go around on the right-hand side of a car turning left. So we'll see if we get honked at, but not a big deal. Changing the topic a little bit, this is something I think I've talked about in previous videos before. Potentially, maybe I haven't really talked too much about it, but as a driver sitting behind the wheel of FSD Beta, I sometimes get a little self-conscious when the car does things that a human wouldn't normally do, like the errant turn signals, or, you know, starts turning the wheels a lot and kind of swerves a little bit. And one thing I've noticed with this build is that has not been really good for the car not to wait for the biker there, because they don't have the right of way. One thing I've noticed with 10.69.2 is I'm much less self-conscious about what the car is doing, because very frequently it's doing the right thing, and even if it does something wrong, it figures out what it did wrong and fixes itself really quickly. So that's been super impressive and really nice as a driver. And it's different as a passenger. Like I've had my fiance drive FSD Beta, and as a passenger, regardless of the build, I'm pretty indifferent to what the car's doing. I think because I'm not the one that's in control of the vehicle. But it's been really nice with 10.69 just to be able to let it do its thing and drive and just go. Not worry too much about what's happening. Obviously still, you know, very much paying attention to the road and the situations at hand, but it is so confident, even with pedestrians around and bikers and lots of cars and lots of things happening. It's incredibly impressive what Tesla has done and will continue to do, and it's looking more and more like there's the possibility of actually having FSD wide release, still 8S level 2, but wide release to everyone who's purchased FSD by the end of this year. Elon recently tweeted that 10.69.2.1 is coming out in the next couple days, probably this weekend, and then 10.69.3 is coming out after AI Day 2, which is in 2 weeks. And one thing I'm speculating is that the 10.69 branch is going to be the last minor version branch, which basically means the 69 part of the version number. The last minor version branch before we get either V11 or wide release. Especially since they're doing a 10.69.3. I think they're super confident in what this build is capable of doing, and the occupancy network and all the neural nets that they have stacked on top of each other. And because of that confidence, they're just going to keep slowly building on it and improving it and making param and config changes. And I don't know how many more code changes they have to make to get wide release. I don't know if it's a requirement that they have FSD running on highways. That'll be interesting to see. I have a feeling it would be really nice if they did that before wide release, but I do think they're going to keep autopilot stack and FSD stack separate for the foreseeable future, just to keep their focus on getting city streets working really well. Okay, so I think we're gonna actually stop here because the car thinks that, and it's not because of the flashing lights. I came through here the other day. I don't know why we're still slowing down. I was hitting the accelerator there. The car sees the stoplight that was turned off as still a stop sign. I'm not sure if you're supposed to stop there or not. No one seems to be. So I have just kind of let the car do its thing. But again, I don't think it says changing lanes for path blockage. I think it's a little bit confused here. We do, I think, want to be in the right lane, so it'll be interesting to see how the car gets itself out of the situation. Yeah, I think it saw all of that construction and thought that the lane that we were in wasn't available anymore, when in fact it was. Probably should have reported that, but commentating, focusing on the road, and wow, that that guy was trying to get hit. Commentating, focusing on the road, and yeah, I don't think we're gonna make our I'm actually gonna push us through and kind of see what happens here. We're not supposed to do this, but I am just gonna let the car figure it out. Technically not what you're supposed to do. Made sure there weren't any cops around, but yeah, not supposed to do that. Car obviously got confused because of the what it thought was a path blockage, but figured itself out. Technically made an incorrect maneuver, but it did it safely, and all I had to do was tap the accelerator a little bit. But it's all good. Now we have a car did a great job of getting out of the way of that biker going the wrong direction on this street. But really solid work, and I think we are coming up to, in just a couple minutes, our first stop here, where we'll just continue trip. I'm not making any stops anywhere today. So we have a left on red. I don't know what the law is here. I think maybe on a one-way street, coming into another one-way street, you can take a left on red, but I have no idea. I would assume not. Maybe I just totally contradicted myself there. But I think, the person in front of me is doing the right thing. I would do the same thing as well. I would wait until the light turned green. And when I was here the other day, also doing just some test driving without recording, the car did wait until the green arrow to take a left. So we are correctly proceeding here. Very smooth turn, very confident. We have a skateboarder in the road here. We'll see what the car decides to do. We are giving them a lot of space. You see the car doing 17. Now we're speeding up a little bit because I think that person's using a boosted board. They're getting out of the road, which is good. And we're confidently proceeding as a human driver would. You know, no reason to push it and try to speed up too quickly on their back. So I honestly, I just put in a random spot. Okay, car slowing down a little bit there for these pedestrians. Car very smartly not waiting for those people. We had a green light. That was really good. That was really, really good. In previous builds, the car would have waited there for sure for those pedestrians to cross, even though we had the right of way. So, you know, the pedestrians were relatively close to the car too, and it was accelerating into it. Didn't even slow down for that person on the scooter that was gonna cross the road right behind me. This is wildly impressive stuff. The difference between 10.12.2 and 10.69.2 is immense. You know, they spent 3 months working on it, and it's really paid off. It's you know, a lot of people were like, oh, Carpathi's left, they're slowing down on releases because they don't know what to do anymore. No, Tesla knows exactly what they're doing. The car is so confident in its maneuvers and its decisions, and really I've felt extremely safe with this build. It's super impressive. I don't know what the car's doing, so they're gonna go, which is fine. I think because they kind of, you know, came flying into the stop sign and stopped way over the line. FSD just wanted to let them kind of do their thing. Obviously, in that situation, if I were in control of the vehicle, I would have gone, but not a big deal. This could make for an interesting situation here. Doesn't seem to be too much of an issue though. We are, okay, I'm gonna press the accelerator because that Tesla to our, oh, okay, I think we're great. We're at our destination, and so I gotta close this and hit continue trip. And we'll be off on our way again once we reroute. So we're, I think that may have been part of the hold up with the right turn there, was that we were pretty much at our destination and the car was just slowing down because of that. Okay, coming up to a trash vehicle, garbage truck. We are just gonna go around it. This is a little tight, but the car does a really nice job going around. That felt exceptionally safe. That's what I would have done. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have done anything differently there. That was the right speed, that was the right amount of distance between the garbage trucks and the cars that were parked on the left. I mean, I got no complaints whatsoever. And I have, again, no idea where I'm going. So I'm just letting the car do its thing. Okay, we have an unprotected cross of 2 lanes of traffic. Wow, and the car's just going for it. I think it felt like it could see enough to make it through there. I probably would have crept a little bit longer, but really not a problem. What's going on here? Okay, we're taking a left. I think this is unprotected, and I'm not sure the car. Okay, I think the car does in fact know this, based on the creep line that we have here. We do have traffic coming from both directions, so we can pull out. Cars maybe gonna take the opportunity to go here. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I guess people are Okay, I'm gonna push the car through now because that was a good time to go. Yeah, that was a weird intersection because you had a, I don't know if you could see it from the video, but you had, that was really weird. You had a crosswalk with lights, but it was a stop sign in my direction, and the cars coming perpendicular to me had no stop sign except for when the crosswalk was going. And there were a couple bikers sitting there. There were some pedestrians waiting to cross. I don't really know whose turn it was to go there exactly, but thankfully the cars stopped for the pedestrians, and that gave us an opportunity to go. And you know, I just had to tap the accelerator. The car didn't freak out. The car didn't do anything it wasn't supposed to do. It was super patient. God, I'm seeing tons of meter maids around. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But yeah, lots of traffic, like parking enforcement, I guess, parking enforcement officers driving around today, which is interesting. I guess it is a Friday at 10-12 a.m. But yeah, again, I don't know where I'm going. Car's just kind of driving me around. I picked some random locations, and so far so good. So far so good. The pickup after cars exiting from left or right has been really nice on this build too. I'm gonna just bump up the speed to 28 because 25 just feels a little pokey, especially with California drivers tending to go, 5 to 7 miles over the speed limit in 25 zones, for better or worse. Okay, we're taking a left here. I've never come from this direction. I forget, where exactly are we going here? Okay, I know where we're going. So we're gonna be doing, I think, Grizzly Peak in just a few minutes here. Alright, car's gonna take its opportunity for this unprotected left. Really good job. Was a little bit slower maybe than I would have done it, but totally fine. Car's also very confidently moving through here. Love to see that. Just pulling up to the stop sign. We have, yeah, it's a little confused by this intersection. It's very big. It's a four-way, but it's kind of at a diagonal, and there's a person crossing the street, so it hit the brake a little earlier and a little more than it needed to, but we are going to take this opportunity now to then pull up to the stop line and do a full stop, which is the correct move technically in that situation, although it should have just pulled. Okie doke. That was weird. The car got confused about its routing, thought it was going to go left for some reason, and then decided to change its mind and go straight. I am going to bump down the speed limit here to 25 because we're feels like we're coming into some narrower roads, more narrow roads. Perhaps not. It's actually really well painted here. I might take that back, that statement. It's fun going new places and letting FSD do its thing. Yeah, that was a really good example of the beta navigating kind of without navigation data. I mean, it has navigation data, but seeing something that it thought meant it couldn't go the direction we wanted to go, and then gracefully-ish figuring out how best to proceed, and it made the right decision. I mean, it figured out where it wanted to go. We could have easily, gone the other way, and it would have rerouted, and we would have been fine. But car figured it out perfectly well, and we're on our way. Okay, so what I was saying before it got confused, we're going to be doing Grizzly Peak, which is a video I did. I don't know if I did it on 10.12. I did it on 10.11, and 10.11 wasn't very good with tight, twisty-turny areas. 10.12 was better, but it would too often, as it was coming into turns, be accelerating too much, not braking. And that's something I've noticed 10.69 do significantly better, albeit at a slower pace. So we'll see if it can maintain the speed limit through Grizzly Peak, which is 30 miles an hour. People tend to do 35 or 40. So we'll see if we get any kind of backup here. It did, interestingly, recognize that stop sign as a stop sign for us when, in fact, it was not for us. So I'm going to report that. Not a big deal. No disengagement. Just tapping the accelerator to push us through and hitting the snapshot button. Outside of some minor quirks, though, like we're getting there. It's so good. I've been waiting for this build for a long time, and I got the beta almost a year ago now with 10.3, and this is really, really exciting progress. Super impressive. I mean, a year ago the car was not sure of anything. It could see a lot, but it was so scared of you know, anything on the road basically, and so it was just making all kinds of weird decisions. But the confidence and the correct decision making the car has now is just wildly impressive. So you'll notice it here, the car is doing a really good job of slowing down for that turn. Like, as a human, I would probably go a little bit faster and be going, you know, trying to go more of the speed limit through here. And because no one's behind us, I'm just gonna let the car do its thing. Otherwise, I'd probably be hitting the accelerator. But this is, you know, as pretty close to as smooth as it can be. We're cutting over the line a little bit more than I would. I tend to, in these tight situations, try to stay as far away from the other lane of traffic as possible. So I'll be cutting, you know, I'll be staying more towards the bike lane. But it's pretty quiet. There's no one behind me, and there's no reason to push it, make it go faster than it really wants to go. On Grizzly Peak, though, I think I'll bump it up to 35 because I am curious. But it is good to see that, you know, it's doing the speed limit well and taking the turns well also. Okay, so this is our destination, I believe. We are stopped a little bit far back from the stop sign here, but we are taking it, which is good. Okay, and our destination will be here in just a sec, so I don't know what the car's gonna do here. Obviously, you know, it should continue to take this turn. But yeah, we are coming up to our destination, and there's a car behind me. So I would really like for the car to say continue trip. No, it's not going to do that. So I just have to take off this destination, put in the next one, and then we'll be on our way. Did I bump it up to 35? I can't remember if I bumped it up to 35. I probably did, but wow, the car is drifting out of the lane. I don't know what that was about, if it had something to do with navigation or what, but that was weird. So chalk that up as a, I think, legitimate disengagement, although I'll have to go back and look at it in post and see kind of what was going on with the screen. Perhaps it froze for a second and lost track of itself. I'm not really sure. But so far, you know, the driving is really smooth. It's staying within the lines. It's trying to do its best to stay at the speed limit at a, you know, reasonable comfort level for the driver and the passenger. And it's doing well. Already much better than 10.12.2. I mean, this is pretty close to how I'd be driving it as well. I'm not someone that likes to go fast around these kinds of curves, and I like keeping my safety score high just for the fun of it. I have a 97 safety score right now, so I don't like going fast around turns to begin with. In general, it's just the safer thing to do, to not fly around curves. But the car is feeling like a much improved safety score driver. Like I think if the car was left alone with its own safety score, it would be in the 90s, which is, I think, a really impressive feat for Tesla. Obviously, the goal is to have the car be a 100 safety score driver at all times, as well as a much safer driver than humans themselves. And we're getting there for sure. I don't think we're quite at the point where you can, just let the car do whatever it wants to do. There's still some quirks, as we've seen on this drive a couple times, but really, really reasonable drive, reasonable speeds, good control, good decision making, super comfortable. And I've said it, 20 times on this drive already, but I'm so impressed by what the team has done here. It's really, really incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly how I'd be driving it. Pretty much, maybe a little slower around the turns than I would, but I don't mind it at all. If my car wants to drive me a few miles an hour slower than I would, and it gets me where I want to go without having to really worry too much about what's happening, I'm so happy with that. I'm thrilled with the progress. All right, doing a really good job of speed control around this turn. Crossed over the line a teeny bit there, but not a big deal. It's it's really narrow, so can't blame the car. In previous builds, the car would freak out when cars were coming towards you on turns, and 10.69, after they made the param and config updates on Tuesday, hasn't really worried too much about cars coming around blind corners like that at all, which I've been super thrilled to see, super happy about. Got another sharp blind turn here. Again, car super impressed with its decision making there. Slows down just like a human would, or like a human should, and gets us safely around the turn. You can see a little bit of wheel jerk there, as the car, contemplates whether or not the opposing traffic is going to hit us. But man, this is really impressive driving. Not a single accelerator tap. No cause for concern, no reason for me to be worried about anything whatsoever. This is just so cool. And we are coming up, I meant to, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're coming up to our next destination momentarily. Wow, that car was coming over the edge a little bit, but we didn't worry too much about it. Yeah, coming up to our next destination, and I've already been recording for like 35 minutes now. I think, 2 disengagements. One was unnecessary in that I hit the brakes and took over in a really tight situation where the car was maybe going a little bit too fast. And then the other one was the car seemingly losing track of what it wanted to do, or what the lane was. So yeah, other than that though, super well done, and really very impressed. Alright, so we're pretty much getting to our destination here. There's no lane change here. I'm not sure why it keeps wanting to turn its turn signal on, but I think we're maybe slowing down. Okay, so this is interesting to see. As we're getting closer to our destination, we do see the car slowing down, potentially to either, let the driver know that we're getting to our destination, or maybe that was some anomaly, but yeah, as we're getting here, I will see if I can hit continue trip, although it doesn't seem to be okay. We're basically here, and it's wanting to pull over, which is really interesting. I am going to, okay, the car's just going to keep going, which is fine, and now I'm going to route us to our final destination here. Car really wants to pull over. Oh, it's actually wanting to turn around, so I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing, because now we rerouted. It's finding its way perfectly well through this parking lot. Sees the stop sign, stops for it. It hopefully will wait for, okay, so there's a car coming. Yeah, it's doing a really good job waiting for this car here, and we're gonna be off. Wow, that's really very impressive. Wow, that's cool to see. Yeah, it just navigated that kind of roundabout in the parking lot super well, got us out of the situation, rerouted, figured out which direction it needed to go based on what we had just done, and now we're on our way. 25's a little bit slower than most people go through here, but I'm just going to leave it at that, because it is obviously one of the safer things to do in the situation. In tighter, kind of curvier areas, just go to speed limit. But people like to fly through here, do 30, 35. So if anyone comes on our back, I'll bump up the speed limit a little bit. And the car's being extra cautious, which is perfectly fine to do. No need to be Mad Max through here. We'll see how it handles this pedestrian, this runner in the road, because we're coming to a blind turn here, and it's usually not a good idea to pass in this kind of situation. Okay, the runner very kindly got out of the road for us as we're coming around. There's a stoplight here, but we have a green light, so we're good to proceed. See if the car does a great job figuring out what where to go, what the road was giving us there. Okay, a bit more of a slowdown here than is necessary. I don't know why that is, so I'm just hitting the accelerator and hitting the snapshot, but I think it's maybe because there isn't a great delineation between road and dirt on the side. So we have seen a little bit in this build. The car is less confident when there aren't sidewalks, when it's when the road just goes off into nothingness. So there's a little bit of hesitation there, but for the most part, the car is handling it very well. Just an accelerator tap, but this is one of the longest times in a long time of having FSD Beta that I haven't disengaged. I mean, it's an absolute monster. Very, very impressive. And when I say monster, I mean like a beast, like a really, really good, really, really confident, making the right decisions. I'm 40 minutes in, 2 disengagements, and a handful of accelerator presses just to give the car confidence. But this is so cool. This is so cool. Alright, so it turned to the left a little bit there, I think, to get away from the pole, and just to make sure to stay on the road for this turn. Let's see if we can. Okay, those are just being visualized as trash cans. Oh no, yeah, you can actually see the occupancy network there showing some massive something saying that the car should not drive in this area. Even if it doesn't exactly, it can't identify exactly what that thing is. just knowing that something is there gives the driver confidence that the car knows what to do. Okay, so we are in a situation where we're stopped at a stop sign behind a couple cars. If you can see in the distance, there's a construction worker or someone holding a stop sign telling us to wait. So it'll be interesting to see. In previous builds, the car would go around, but I think the car now, and you know, knock on wood, I think the car has enough situational awareness at this point to know if we're stopped at a stop sign behind a couple cars to not go around. They're not parked, their brake lights are on. There's another stop sign a little bit further ahead. So I think it's smart enough to know just to wait. So we'll see how long this takes, but the car's doing the right thing. Whew. It's chilly in here. All right, now's our chance to go. I think the car will probably stop at the stop sign, which is technically what you're supposed to do here anyway. Especially since there's another car that might take an opportunity to go. No, we're just gonna pass on through, no problem. Okay, we get a forward collision warning there because that motorcyclist came out a little hot from that parking garage. So I just tapped the accelerator, but again, car didn't freak out. Car handled it super well. And it braked for safety. It wasn't for, you know, that was a good, I would have also slowed down there. Not as much, I wouldn't have come to a complete stop, but that motorcyclist was being a little bit aggressive pulling out of the parking garage there. Okay, should be our chance to go now. And we will take it, albeit a little bit hesitantly. I think those safety officers on the side of the road were perhaps giving the car a little bit of confusion. Got a little bit of a break there, but we are, you know, we do have a lot of things happening here. Some pedestrians, a golf cart on the side of the road or on the sidewalk. I could see the car slowing down here for this woman, but it didn't. Rightfully, she is actually going to cross the road now, which is interesting. But she made a full stop for that. All right. I mean, this is crazy good. It's crazy good. This is so impressive. That car is not supposed to do that. This is one lane. Because we're going straight. It's possible the car in front of us is also going straight. So I don't really know what they're doing. But yeah, that's not a lane. So we'll see how the car handles it. I'm actually curious to see how the car in front of us handles it as well. Are they going straight or are they turning left? I would assume they're going straight because they don't have their turn signal on, but yeah. Okay, our car handles it well. Just treated it as a, you know, car in front of us. Yeah, the car in front of us does not know how to drive, it seems. They seem to be quite confused for whatever reason. Yeah, we're going to our final destination here, which is the store. I'm gonna pick up a couple things, and we've got 45 minutes of really solid footage here. Okay, so I did this yesterday. The car stopped here as if there were a stop sign, which there isn't, so I am just tapping the accelerator to get us through. But now I'll let the car do its thing. That section has always been a little funky for the beta. 10.12.2 did it pretty well, but would go a little faster than I personally would. 10.69 has done a really, like, it drives it really well. Like the speed control, Got a bit of a slowdown there for that person, so I'm just hitting the accelerator to move us through. Understandable why the car would be worried. That person was, in fact, coming straight into the road and made a sharp stop at their truck. So I don't mind it too much. It's a little bit jarring at times, but those kinds of situations are really difficult for the car to know what it should do. Like, as a human, you can understand the context of that person's working on their truck, they're pulling things out, they're getting tools, they're doing whatever it is they're doing, so it's very unlikely that they're just going to jump out into the road. But as a car that, doesn't have that situational awareness yet, like it's good about understanding kind of where things are moving and all of that, and it understands some context, but it's not going to understand what it means to be a worker. We're slowing down a little bit more here than we should be, but that's fine. Didn't do anything and figured it out. Yeah, the car's not gonna, it doesn't understand tools, it doesn't understand what the job of that person is, so it's gonna just see, an object moving towards the road at a relatively fast pace, and it's gonna slow down because of that. And I think that's perfectly acceptable. You just need to make sure as a passenger or as a driver that any cars behind you aren't going to rear end you in that situation. So obviously keeping your foot by the accelerator, but there wasn't really a car behind me, and the situation wasn't too much of an issue. So I just kind of let it do its thing and hit the accelerator after we knew for sure that person wasn't going to cross into the road. Excuse me. But these streets are not easy for humans, and the car is navigating like an absolute champ, driving like an absolute champ. And I will say it again, super impressed. Super impressed. If they can build off of what they have right now, I don't think it'll be too long before they have some, like, just most drives are zero intervention, zero disengagement. I don't want to get into, saying the car will be L4 anytime soon. There's obviously regulatory approval there. There's probably the need for some more redundancy in the vehicle than what it currently has, just in the sense of maybe some extra sensors to make sure. I'm pushing the accelerator here because the car was a little unsure of what the other vehicle was going to do there. But there needs to be, I think, probably, and I'm no expert in this, but there probably has to be a little bit more redundancy in terms of the car's sensors and computer and everything. Especially before you take the steering wheel out of the vehicle, or sit not in the driver's seat as a driver. Okay, this is an interesting spot because we can't see over the top here, but the car's really confident in its decision and goes over it just fine. So earlier in this drive, and I don't know if I'm gonna do like one solid 50-minute to an hour video here, because I have been talking the entire time and the car's just been super impressive. So we'll see if I post like a really long FSD Beta 10.69 impressions, first kind of, not first drive, but drive video, or if I split it up. But we came up this road the other direction, early on in the drive. So it's interesting to see, the car do it from the other side. And we are coming up to the infamous roundabout, which the car has had trouble with a lot. At this point, though, it's needing less disengagement and more intervention, which is super exciting. And I know 10.13 was supposed to have some roundabout stuff. Obviously, it got changed to 10.69, and they may have just kind of focused more on other pieces of the car's capability. So I am hitting the accelerator here. Okay, I wasn't expecting to go this way. This is, I guess, the navigation route, which is totally fine. I thought we were going to go all the way around, so as the car kind of made its way through, obviously gave me a moment to pause and get my bearings. Totally fine. Car knows where it wants to go. I hit the accelerator to push it through the roundabout a little bit, but I don't know that I necessarily needed to. I was mostly pushing it around because is this right? Yeah, okay, this is right. I don't actually, I kind of feel like this is right. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm more confused than the car apparently. And I think that's going to start happening more and more often, especially when you just put in like random locations. Alright, so let's see how the car handles this. Super well, actually. Really happy with that. I'm going to bump it down because 28 through this section is too fast for sure. It's essentially one lane through a lot of this road, and this is, oh yeah, fun. This is 10.11.2 when or maybe it was 10.12, I can't remember actually at this point. There was a moped that was parked, wow, we are coming straight for the bushes. Don't want to do that, so I'm just gonna take over there. There was a moped that was parked in the road here that the car didn't recognize, and I think 10.69 would definitely recognize it here. Yeah, I don't know if we would have like touched the bushes there. Obviously not what you really want to do. I think the car panicked a little bit more than was necessary, and I could have let it figure out what the right thing to do there was, but no reason to risk it. You know, this is not an inexpensive vehicle, so why give it scrapes where it isn't necessary just for, you know, maybe a few extra views of people's time. Squirrel, get out of the road! Squirrel! Oh no! Squirrel! Dude, come on!